Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 17th episode of the Between You and I Bad Grammar podcast. And today is really special to me. Ryan and I are going to be hanging out with Danny Newcomb, who is one of the guitar players and my main writing partner for the band Goodness that I was in. And I'm super excited to have him on the podcast. He's also now deep into having a ton of solo work, and he's releasing new work again. I think it's his fourth solo CD. He'll tell us, but he's fantastic. He is one of my longest music friends and continues to be an artistic partner to me. And so I'm just excited to hang out with him when we can talk about whatever we want to talk about. Sound good?
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Me too. Here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you feel like subscribing, that would be really awesome. But today, I'm very excited because we have one of my oldest friends and writing partner, Danny Newcomb.
Hello.
Hello. Danny and I, how long have we known each other now? Since 95?
I thought it was like since 7th grade, but
you're that creepy
that
kid. That creepy kid in the back of the room. You're the guy who's throwing things at me. Oh, irritating.
That's me. I'm glad you noticed.
I did, but I didn't turn around because I didn't want to give you any, any impetus.
The wicked eye.
I don't want to feed that. Oh, good one. So I'm going to tell the little story about how we met. So Danny was one of the founding members of the band Goodness, the second band that I was ever in. And I met Danny through a friend, Timo Ellis, who is also an amazing musician. He has done so many creative things, and he has a band, the Netherlands, who are super full on. They're powerful. Anywho, in Seattle, I think it was 1995, Timo and I were kind of writing and, just experimenting on music. And I told him I was looking to put a band together, and he said, "Oh, you got to meet my friend Danny." And so he did introduce us, right? Did he introduce us, but then wouldn't like hand out your phone number, or was it like
it went both ways? I think, you guys were demoing some stuff after Hammerbox, and you were kind of starting to go in a certain direction with your music and kind of trying to figure out what you wanted to do after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he played me some demos, and I think I heard your voice, and I was hassling him at the same time. I think I called him up and said, "Timo, give me Carrie's number," and he wouldn't do it. He kept making up stories. So he was like, "Well, I don't know. Maybe you should get blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was just giving your number. And yeah, he was kind of in the middle for a little while. I think he was. Yeah. Everyone wants to work with Carrie is kind of what it is.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Timo's like the master of many things. Like you name it, he plays it, and he's constantly creating. And so I think he just was like, "No, I want all the projects."
Yes,
and he probably could have done all the projects. And but it was like, "No, Timo, you have too many projects, and I actually need to get something done." So
well, and I was thinking about actually one of the first times we got together with Garth and played, and Garth and Timo were friends. Garth ended up playing guitar in Goodness, but I also knew Garth and Timo from going to school down at Olympia. And
Evergreen, right? You guys all went to Evergreen. Yeah.
And so I remember we jammed at Timo's Space. I came over, we jammed at Timo's Space, and one of the songs we jammed on, I think there's a recording somewhere, was Superwise.
Right.
And I remember when we jammed on it in the room, I was like, this sounds really good.
Isn't that the best? Like when you that's what everyone hopes for, is when all of a sudden you start making music and you're like, oh,
right.
This could be good,
This could be good. And that bulb goes on somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I met Garth, because I saw him and Timo play in their band Nubbin, who I adore. To this day, I still have vinyl of Nubbin, because right? Like they're and at that time, Garth was playing bass,
Right.
and Timo was singing and playing guitar. I still have vinyl of Nubbin, but because they were such a great combination of like pop to full on like poppy metal. Like it was just
Right.
it would hit hard, and I'd be like, oh my
And
god.
Timo was such a big fan of the Cars that a lot of that stuff came through, the super great candy rock, guitar pop.
Yeah.
I remember Garth complaining about his, well, he wasn't complaining, but his grandma always called them the Newbins.
That would be so annoying.
Are you
That would be
playing
like,
your band, the Newbins, tonight?
the Newbins, yeah.
Newbins?
Oh, grandma, yeah. That's awful. That's awful.
Great.
But I mean, I loved that music. But anywho, yeah. So I think I met you first, and then my brother, actually Eric, was playing drums at the time,
Right.
and we had Mary Ellen Cooley playing bass for a
That was like
while.
the first year, I think, we had
Yeah.
Ellen and Eric playing bass. And we did the first demo sessions with John, too, with that band, if I remember right. John Goodman
Right.
recorded them at Reciprocal, right? But it was called John Hughes then, yeah.
The Triangle Building. What is it called now? The League of Justice or something over in Fremont?
Hall of Justice. League
Hall of Justice.
Yeah. It sounds very important. But it always has been an important landmark studio. So that's cool.
Yeah. And it literally is a triangle. Like it's the tiniest building, but that's what makes it so unique and fun to have been there. Hammerbox recorded there even.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely a landmark. But I remember, when we were initially just writing the first songs, such an exciting time when you first bring a group together and it's going to be good. And it's kind of a free for all. Like we were really open. Like we didn't say ahead of time, oh, we want to be exactly this.
No.
And I
never said that.
Yeah. And I feel like between you and myself, we have enough distinctive differences that it made something unique. Yep. I wouldn't say our differences are huge, but I will have sort of a new wave, like minor key bent to something, and you write really great riffs and just in general write great songs. And then getting to put like vocal melodies and lyrics to all that just seemed easy. It seemed to go easy.
Well, and I would go actually one step further. I think in retrospect, looking back at bands now that I'm not in them anymore, really, they're like a family, but the musical tension, comes out of personality differences and temperament differences and influential differences. So you got to have some of that, you got to have that give and take to make something good, even though at the time it can be, butting heads.
Well, I look back on it and I've said to somebody recently that both of the first bands I was ever in, so Hammerbox and Goodness, both were a collection of people who were strangers to each other. Oh. And I think that that's a good thing, right. Because you don't have like years of old habits and things like that. It was a group of brand new spank of people together who didn't know each other either. Like you guys didn't really know my brother. I didn't know Mary Ellen. I didn't know any of you, but I like that. I mean, going forward, at least on solo records, I have a brand new band every time.
Yeah.
Because you never, that's the mystery. Everybody's good. Like, enough things to say like, well, everyone here is good. It can't be terrible. I don't think we're going to create anything terrible.
There are some mixes of personality, of course, and style that are better. I think really, of course, being a musician and is a lot of it's mainly about listening. And so that being in mind, you're going to play off whoever you're playing with. You're going to create whoever with the person you're playing with because you're riffing off them,
Right.
That's a big part.
There's a couple things. So do you remember two things? First, I have really stopped and thought how lucky I was that, again, in both first bands, I was with mostly men, but men who were, it wasn't a concern that I was a female. Like I never felt, and definitely not in Hammerbox and definitely not in Goodness. I just was really grateful that I was surrounded by men where that wasn't like even a factor. Like it wasn't going to be like, oh, we have a female lead, so it should look like this or anything. Like my femaleness had nothing to do. It was all about like writing right away and being musicians. And thank you.
Yeah. I think that's at least as far as goodness goes, I think that was the way I felt, was just, we're here to make art. It's not, I was never into the commercial look either, or sculpting things to be a certain way. So that's probably for that as well.
But it's just like a bunch of feminist men. I just kind of really appreciate that. Like I every once in a while I'll be like, think about that. Other people have a lot of trouble. And I just really, as I realize, looking, just the great things about people I've gotten to work with. And that was one of them. But do you remember when we first started writing, you and I started writing, I felt like it went easy, very natural.
It's always gone super easy. Yeah. And I think I've become, even last couple of years when we've gotten together every once in a while and played, we always make up one or two really good ideas. And so, that's unusual. I haven't really had that.
You think so?
I do. Yeah.
So how do you guys actually, how do you work together to create a song? Like, does Carrie go first and like kind of have the lead, or how, like, what is that process like?
It kind of depends on what we have. Yeah. It has been music based in the past. I mean, I know the first Goodness record, it was music. We'd come up with a riff and some music, and then Carrie would do a lyric. But that's not always the way it would happen.
Well, at the time, it was like I had just started to try and write songs, so I didn't have the experience under my belt like Danny did and some of the other folks that they've been writing since you were probably 9 in other bands. And so for me, that's just where I was writing wise. But in Hammerbox, what I felt like I did hone was listening. So music would be created. It was my job to listen and see what it triggered lyrically, but also vocal melody wise. And so that I had kind of down. But writing my own stuff came a bit later in Goodness, way more in Goodness.
Well, I think the first record to me, there's a lot of great things about the first Goodness record, but I think just the energy and the sort of synergy of everything, and it just feels alive. Thanks to John Goodmanson as well for that. Mm-hmm. But
do you remember on that record too, John was the first one, him and I started talking about me singing less, because my big hang up was, well, I've been in this first band where I growl a lot, and it's like 0 to 100 on the vocals. And then I was like, I want to see if I'm capable of kind of singing differently, basically. And so John was the first one to have me, we called it talk singing.
I didn't know that. That.
Oh no, we had full on conversations about it, like sing less, like Smoking. Smoking is one of those songs.
Lost is definitely one of those. Yeah.
Later. For Lover's Sake. Yeah. Like literally, especially Smoking. It was like we did take after take where he was like, sing less, like just talk to me, like sing it.
And what I was going to say is, from a songwriting perspective, that first record, you really have some solid writing, in those songs. I mean, and a very distinct style how you use the language. I think like Viva La High and stuff. I mean, those were all experiences we had, like on the Elliott Smith tour and stuff like that. But yes. But they're encapsulated so well, And I was, what was I thinking about? Oh, I was thinking about Sincerely Yours, and I remember when we were working on that song, it has that riff, mm-hmm. Bop, 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 and it's almost like a classical kind of progression, but it's got this weird kind of polka beat too. And then you came in and started singing those lyrics, and I was like, "Holy crap!" It's like in the melody,
That was really fun. It was so amazing. And it's such a shift. One, again, just appreciating an open mind. It's such a shift from Hammerbox.
Oh yeah, right. I didn't realize that at the time.
Yeah, I went back just as we got ready for this podcast and listened to both. And I was like, again, lots of appreciation and gratitude for being able to shift into a different style, but not think about it.
Right.
I mean, I think I wanted more room to sing. And so Goodness, I feel like had a lot more of a like guitar pop, whereas Hammerbox had a lot more harder, lots of parts, a lot of hard experimental-ish, sound to it. But Goodness lent itself to singing in a different way, like and I could story tell in our songs,
right,
really consciously. I mean, in Hammerbox, I was just finding words for the first time, and then Dave also wrote a bunch of lyrics as well. But it was the first time I'd ever written lyrics was in Hammerbox. But in Goodness, I really felt like I got to move forward into clear storytelling.
Smoking. What would be the songs that you fell off the first record that would be?
Viva La High, Smoking, yeah. Even Superwise, it was how I felt, right? Like, it was trying to be a positive song about what counts to me. God, almost all those songs. Wicked Eye, like that's a distinct story in my head. So, I mean, I was trying to think what else. Oh,
Labor Day too.
Oh yeah, Labor Day. Yeah, exactly. At the same time, getting to like express strength, like Run Around is one of my all-time favorites that we call Garth Rock. For no one in Goodness calls it Run Around. It's all Garth Rock. That had killer guitars on it, and it's supposed to be just sort of a tougher song, you know what I mean? Like definitely a female strength song. But all of those songs right away, I think the music lent itself. I certainly had that purpose in mind. Like, I want to learn how to songwrite, but I also want to elevate myself and do something different. And you're a songwriter. And so I got to be with songwriters, who had already written things that had shape. You know what I mean? And you had a lot of knowledge around like what songwriting could be.
Well, I had a lot of experience in writing musical pieces, and as my time has gone on, I've been focused more on lyrics lately. But yeah, no, it was a lot of and that synergy. Like, if you listen to Superwise now, there's like this tidal wave of music, and you're kind of in there surfing the whole thing, and then the chorus is all you. It's great. It works very nicely,
Well, and that guitar line is just badass. I mean, anybody who can recognize that guitar line the minute you play that, people are like, oh, like,
it does,
which is lovely. It's so lovely. Yeah. Well, and and I was very conscious about what I energetically wanted Goodness to be, hence the name Goodness.
Right.
In my mind, it was like, I want to express my stories and my feelings, but also kind of write songs that people could get behind emotionally. I think they could with Hammerbox. It was just harder, right? Like, just hard driving. There's definitely angst and things in there, but it was really, I think, music for the people. Mm-hmm. I felt like much clearer songs about. The lyrics are just a lot more straightforward.
And more pop.
And a lot more pop.
Traditional arrangements, yeah.
Well, and those arrangements give, like I said, a lot more room to a singer. It wasn't well, there's just more space in those songs. I also had to break habits, as I can go listen to records and be like, oh, like on the first Hammerbox record, I would fill in with small words like well, and when I would sing, they weren't really necessary to be there, but I would do that a lot. And I probably did some of that on the first Goodness record. But I've tried to be very like, don't do that, up until like even the latest solo record. Like, I can hear like, oh, you're breathing, like, this is such a singer thing to do, be like, oh, you're really Hing that thing, like, as opposed to just, like, and so in Goodness, I just felt like there was a lot more, I could elongate out phrases. I could just simply state like the chorus line,
Yeah.
And so, I was just trying to grow, in all ways. And I recently, again, gone back and listened, and just thought those songs are the reason why, at least our fans, attach to those songs, because they're really personal. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're driving, and they're amazing to watch live, I think. I mean, we've always had fun with our fans.
So what are your top 5 off the first record, do you think?
Off the first record?
Yeah.
Definitely Run Around.
Yeah.
Superwise. I like Smokin'.
Smoking is still one of my favorites off that record. It just builds in such an interesting way, you know?
Yeah. And it's killer to sing. I mean, it's I will think about the things that I enjoy. I also like, Wicked Eye too, because I like that chorus a lot.
Yeah.
But let me see what else.
You got one more.
I got one more, huh?
You can have two.
It's good to have rules.
I got rules, man. There's I think I liked Labor Day. I mean, it was like even but weirder. I loved For Lover's Sake. I think we played it live one time in our whole career, right. But I really liked that because we literally recorded that off the fly. For me, that was like the first
stacked. It's like your vocals are kind of like the main instruments, which is great.
Yeah, so that was really fun. I like that a lot. I went on to recently to listen to probably what should have been our second record these days. That really well, these days I feel like should have really been the second record in terms of evolution of because it still retains our experimental, even though we recorded it after Anthem. It's got, I mean, I'm obsessed with a lot of songs like Queen Gasoline. I love These Days. I love Sister Twin, Disco. Yeah, I love One Rooms, Fall Away. Like that hell of a chorus is to sing. That's like at the top of my range. I remember we would be like, we'll slow the tape down and sing it. And then,
and you're like, I got to sing this live, guys.
Thank God for adrenaline, right? Because I think that's the only way to do it. Just for all the tips and tricks out there, folks, like adrenaline is your friend for notes that are hard to reach. But I've gone back and I get really into like kind of the deep tracks of things we have not played a lot of. And I was like, oh, I really like those. And they probably have a pretty melodic bent to them. All of those.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting second record if we'd been left to our own devices and gotten to make that record instead of being held up with Atlantic.
Right. And I never understood why John Goodmanson's version of Anthem wasn't something they wanted to keep. Like, I don't get it. You probably know more than me. I just was like, wow.
I never got a straight answer. I think the Jason Flom at Atlantic got mixed messages back from all his radio people, and that's what he based his whole career off of. So it just had to do with hearing back from a couple of big shot DJs, I think, and how the record was going to be marketed. So,
I mean, do you really think a producer's sound, the way they make a record sound, really makes or break a single? Maybe it does.
I don't know if it was so much the sound as that he wanted, another version of like I'm Just a Girl by No Doubt at that point.
Yeah.
He was looking for a kind of a radio hit. And I don't know, I think we were a little ahead of our time and a little bit more experimental in what he was looking for, frankly.
Like in the oddest way, like, because we are a weird combination, a weird in a good way, I guess, of guitar rock, pop, female singer that's a strong voice, Fia included. Like our combination was really like, what is this? Like, it's not Alanis Morissette. I mean, it could be, I guess, but that's really solo. It's the treatment of her records, just like Sheryl Crow or whatever. They feel very centered around the singer.
Well,
like
super produced. I mean, all of that stuff was all written by the producer. So that's a whole different ball of wax.
I feel like we were this weird combination of like Cheap Trick and Pat Benatar. And I don't know, and other things, right? Like new wave things, maybe the Cars. I don't know what else, but like with a flavor of like, like Chris and Garth, or they've got a whole side of things that they love as well. But I'm like, we were an odd combination, but it was delicious. I thought. I felt like the problem Atlantic had, because they go off data, is that the people they played the music for liked everything. And that was a problem because they couldn't nail down a single.
They couldn't pick a single. That was
everybody just liked everything.
They were like, well, maybe Goodbye.
I mean, that seems like a good problem to have. Yeah.
I know. Right. You would think, but nothing makes sense in the music industry. It should have been Superwise in my book. I'm like, just lay out Superwise. Just come on.
Yeah. Just come
was there a big difference between the two productions then? Like that you guys noticed? Like,
I think Ted Nicely had a really, Danny will be able to speak this more than myself, but I feel like he had a very clean, tidy, he got great sounds, but it was radio tidy.
It was a whole different process. When we recorded with John, we would rehearse the songs and decide what arrangements we liked, and then all record live in a room together. So the recordings had a very organic feel. We didn't use a click track with the drums. And Ted Nicely came, and this is part of the reason we hired him, to his credit,
right?
Was they go through sort of the big studio production at Band Animals, spend a month recording. A lot of the basic tracks took most of the time, recording bass and drums, and they were all done to a click track, and everything was lined up perfectly, and it was very different, and it was pretty hard, I think, on Chris and Fia.
Oh God,
they just had to get everything lined up in a way that was very, I don't know.
After having recorded the whole record one time, I mean, I think it was hard on the whole band, because you're like, recording a record is really consuming. Right. I mean, you're living in a barn. Just, we were up at Bear Creek, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're consumed with the making of a record, and then when someone says, "Nope, do it all over again," you're like, "Oh my God!" I mean, I can hear, again, vocally, I can hear my burnout. It's clean. It's all clean, but there's a little less live spark to it.
Well, and there was one thing I wanted to bring up today too, just in general, was one of the funnest times for me. Number one, writing with you in this project was awesome. We always had such a good time, and it was usually good. But right before the first record, we went in for the first record. I think it was like a week and a half before. I think we finished like 2 or 3 songs. One of them being Goodbye. Maybe Ever Ready that we'd have that for a while. But there was no shortage of material when we were feeling good and in our creative mode. But being held up by Atlantic for 2 years was just kind of kills all that,
Then it's the second record for a band. You've been touring. You got stress. Again, the good thing about collecting strangers to make a band is that it's wide open, but nobody knows each other. So there's the chance someone's bullshit is going to come out 2 years into it. It's like, we're not getting along. Well, yeah. But I mean, there's stress on a band. Second record is always stressful.
Right.
Always stressful. And so it was just stressful. And then, then personally, everybody deals with their stress and having their own personal lives. And so those things are going on as well. And then the label says, go make your baby for the second time, start from scratch. And it's like, oh my God. Okay.
Well, that being said, I think the record we did with Ted Nicely came out really well. I mean, we buckled down and did a lot of work, and I think those tracks sound great, and he did a good job. It just was sort of a momentum killer at the time.
Yeah, and he was Nicely. Ted was Mr. Nicely.
He was nicely nice.
Yeah, he's very nice. So it's interesting. Danny and I always say to Ryan, like, I wish, or you and I talked about this, where we wished we were a lot alike. The other thing that happens, I guess I'm backing up, when you're on tour and you're getting really busy, is you can easily just go to your corner, right? Like, because you're just trying to deal. And now that Danny and I talk about touring now, we're actually a lot alike. We wish we would have sort of partnered up and said, like, just have somebody else to say, like, I'd rather go read a book right now. Like, I can't hang out in this bar one more minute, or, someone to commiserate with, as opposed to kind of feeling alone.
Well, I think we kind of knew that when we did. Remember when we did those radio shows for Atlantic? We flew down, down to San Francisco, and we had to do that morning
crack of dawn.
That morning crack of dawn with the weatherman, like, out in front of the people swimming laps, and then we were like lip syncing in front of this lap pool, like at 7.
Awkward.
Sounds glamorous. Yeah,
it's awful.
It was super funny, but we laughed the whole time. We had a good time. I mean, it didn't, didn't feel negative.
We were definitely troopers. And that was like, at the time, that was like your tier 1 work. Mm-hmm. So you got signed, a record comes out. The first level that you do is like these morning shows, and, any radio that they can get to talk to you. And that's kind of like the first level. So that's all the stuff you look forward to doing if you get at the time. It's vastly different today, but, that was funny, because it would be like, all right, tier 1, we're going to be up at 7 a.m. pretending to be rockers. And it was just, it was hard.
Yeah. But we laughed.
We did laugh. You have to laugh or you'd cry.
Right. Or you drink.
Or you drink a lot. Yeah. But everybody in that band was solid, wanted to work hard. You know what I mean?
That's totally true.
Everybody's got a work ethic. And, your work ethics goes way back, right? Like you were in a band with Chris.
Right.
In Shadow.
Yeah.
With your buddies. How old were you when that band started? I always think you're 11, but I almost want to say you were younger.
No, when I started playing with Chris, I was like 10 or something. I don't know. It was
right.
Yeah.
What the hell was I doing when I was 10?
Chris was still wearing braces. Yeah.
So cute. Okay, do we have to tell the story about when you wanted to bring Chris into goodness?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's a funny story. Oh, you know what story it is. So, like I said, we started off with my brother was playing drums, and he's a killer drummer. But he was in 2 bands at the time, and so he had said, "Hey, I'm going to go play in my other band, and I can't do both." So I was like, "Okay." And then Mary Ellen had other projects, or she left, and so I think Eric actually introduced us to Fia.
Did he?
Yeah.
I know that.
Somebody had talked to him about Fia. That's how we met Fia. And so when Eric left, you had said, "Hey, what about my friend Chris?" And I was like, "Chris who?" And you're like, "Chris Friel." And I was like, "Oh no!" Like,
why?
Well, I've said this a million times. I feel like so I knew the Friel brothers. That's Chris and Rick from when I was at the University of Washington, and I think one or both of them hung out at not Parnassus. It was a coffee shop. The coffee shop, Espresso Roma. Yes. And they were pretty boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a real anti-pretty boy attitude. And so you were like, "Oh, Chris Friel." And I was like, no.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, no. Nope, we're not inviting the pretty boy into the band. And you're like, "Come on, you were very sincere." And understandably, you were like, "No, he's really good. You could give him a chance." And I was just like, ugh. And so but the great end of the story is so, Chris shows up, he's got his own style, right? He's got torn jeans and all this stuff. And the whole time I'm being super, indie, grunge, cynical, just yeah. But the day Chris tried out, I really have a lot of respect for him, and he schooled me that day. I had been so used to, in Hammerbox, we all kind of went to our separate corners, and I never looked at anybody. I sat in a corner and listened and wrote lyrics, or if I was mad, I'd put a pole in between our faces. You know what I mean? Just super passive aggressive 20-year-old things to do. And so when Chris came to try out, we were running through the songs, and he was hammering away, just staring at me dead in my eyes. And I started to get defensive, "What the hell are you looking at?"
Right.
In my head. I don't think I said it out loud, but I was like, "Why is this fucker staring at me? What do you want?" I was getting all this defensive. And so I finally asked him, I said, "What are you looking at?" He's like, "I'm waiting for you to tell me what to do." And I was like, "Oh, schooled. Thank you, Chris Friel." Because he was a professional. He was really wide open. He's like, "I'm the drummer. I'm waiting for you, Carrie, the starter of goodness, to tell me what to do." And I just had never, I wasn't grown up. You know what I mean? I wasn't experienced, and I was being very immature. But I recognized right away, I was like, "That guy just schooled you." Yes to him. Thank you. He just taught you something. And I loved that. And
yeah,
I forever love Chris Friel. He is our steady Eddie. That guy never brings drama. He is a consummate player. He will play any show, anywhere, any day, to my chagrin sometimes. Because I'd be like, "Oh, for God's sakes, call it. No, the show must go on." And I'm like, "No, it doesn't." But he's also even keel, right? He's not drama. And so I've really appreciated. He's got a very golden heart.
And I think, God bless him. He's incredibly loyal as a human being too. I think there's.
Oh my God. Yeah. And a killer drummer,
Yeah.
Anywho, so yeah, so many things learned. I've just been really appreciating the lessons and how they were learned in the people. I mean, even the hard stuff too. But that's just what happens when you're growing up. You know what I mean? We were all in our 20s, and I definitely look back at someone had made a comment. Pete Greenberg, who is our friend and who's been a supporter of Goodness and now has Latent Records, sent me a note, because I'm not on social media right now. Sent me a note saying, hey, somebody was complimenting Hammerbox, and they had a video a video of when we played Rock Candy, and I watched it and I was like, just the difference between like 23 to like even in Goodness, I was like, I just felt like, what a dork. Like everything that came out of my mouth just seemed stupid and just like, I don't know. Oh,
well, you have to remember who the audience was. I think you have to remember who the audience was. They weren't that. They were the same age, and and the scene back then was so awesome. The scene back then was so awesome.
Yeah. Well, I definitely wasn't practiced in stage banter in any way. So it all comes out very dorky and very unconfident. Like, I don't know. That's, it's the,
I would you went from getting a photography art degree, right, to UW, to jumping right into playing with a band. I mean, the Hammerbox was your first band, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's intense. I mean, for me, intense. I've been doing since I was 9, and so I kind of had years to get over most of my stage fright. By the time Goodness.
Totally. Well, someone had said to me during the Hammerbox A&M Records era, somebody we were working with A&M was like, dancers practice and practice and practice, and then they perform. You're having to do this all in front of people. Like, you're having to learn while you're in front of people. And that's what's hard is I'm not practicing in front of a mirror. I didn't videotape myself. That would have felt pretentious, I think, at the time, although, it has its place. But in Goodness, I felt like, as a growth thing, right. I had a purpose energetically, right, about what this band would represent. And that played out on stage as well. And we cultivated, I feel like, a fan base that was, that knew they were loved.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was like, I welcome all dorks. Anyone else trying to be cool can get the hell out. Like, I was out loud about that all the time. Like, if you're being a dick, get out.
Well, and that was the thing that band had was, I think through you in a large part, was that immediate personal connection, and a very loyal following, which kind of today still, is there.
Yeah.
I mean, and I can't, I still am somewhat surprised by people who say, oh, I've just listened to Superwise the other day. I'm like, what?
I know. Exactly.
Or any of our other old songs too. It's I think that's the, as a writer, but also just as a musician, I think that's the signal of success.
I think so too.
Something that lasts like that.
Yeah, you made something really timeless. That's pretty impressive always.
Yeah.
Well, and it seems accidental.
are all magical things. I know, right. Seemingly. Right. Well, I also think that it takes I think it takes courage to be yourself in a cool scene.
I think so too. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I always was for the underdog. And so Seattle definitely has its moments of too cool for school. And I really, I hated that. I mean, I knew a lot of great people. I'd say for the most part, everybody was really great. But if I could sniff out someone like being a dick, I was from across a room would be like, you over by the lamp, get the fuck out. Like,
well, and the town blew up so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid and I was playing with Shadow with that band, there was like no place to play. Like the Fastbacks were playing and stuff. You'd have to rent your hall, and there was no community, and it was just completely different. So by the time things blew up in the 90s, it was, it was world famous. I mean,
yeah,
enough so that Mark Arm could coin the term,
Right. Well, what are your thoughts? And we had this conversation with Julia Francis, who was on the podcast on the last episode, and I think it was with her, Ryan. I can't remember. We were talking about I was talking about with someone recently, is it, oh no, I was talking with a friend of mine, Brandon. We were saying, what now? And he was asking me, what do you think about the venues and possible closures and, what does it mean for the artists? And I was like, well, I think the artists are already in trouble, even if prior to the pandemic, because of the expense now of living in Seattle. Right. And I said, we we got to do goodness when I could rent a $300 apartment and be a barista and be in a band, and that covered everything.
Well, we also we got paid a living too to be on the label. So
Sure.
Now there's not even the majors for most artists, not to the extent of what it was.
Right. I was like, well, like you were saying with Shadow, you would go make your own place to play. And I'm like, those are the things I would seek out. If I felt like my control was being taken away from me, I would look for the avenues where I could make some things up where it didn't cost me an arm and a leg. I'm like, well, what are those avenues? House shows, I guess. But I was like, those are the things I feel like that will give artists a fighting chance, is where the places, the venues, when I say venue, it's like in quotes, like whatever you consider a venue, that doesn't cost you, that is a whole new, in the light of how it is right now, like kind of punk rock and a renegade, effort out of need.
Well, I was talking, and so that's a really interesting subject for me. I mean, so when I was going to school down in Olympia, Nirvana was playing around down there. They played my friend's birthday party and stuff. They sounded like holy hell. I mean, it did not sound good. but of course, then they released Bleach, and I'm like, wow,
oh yeah,
amazing. I heard that right away. But that was in a total vacuum. I mean, down there with Calvin and the K Records crew and Bikini Kill and that whole thing. Total small time town. Coming up with their own version of what you saw on MTV or the bigger picture, and trying to subvert it with their ideas. And I think that's how most art is, used to be successful. And it's one of the things that I'm kind of wondering. Now I'm jumping tracks a little bit, but I'm wondering if being able to stay so connected via our phones and social media, if it takes some of the energy out of actually making something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're just posting on social media, you're not, spending time holed up somewhere writing songs and coming up with a separate world, so to speak, which Seattle used to be in the 80s.
Right. And those channels didn't exist when we even had goodness. Like,
yeah, you couldn't get anything out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally
and
different.
so, but now that's a vital channel where people are living and breathing and sharing and doing all of that. So what happens to live connection, and how do you not just get people to go, right, but like to recognize again, like the physical, being physically together, and the energy.
I was in the supermarket yesterday, and I'm like, the checker, I'm like, it's going to be really weird. We can all see each other's lips again.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I mean, I think we may come out of this and need to go back to sort of local is more kind of attitude. You know what I mean? Kind of.
I hope so.
That's what I'm hoping.
Well, I want, it's a whole different generation, right? It's a whole nother group of people who are having their own particular Seattle experience or Northwest experience. It's different. It's a whole different world. So I don't know what's going to be special for them, given all the, things that exist now that didn't.
Yeah.
Like, what makes it special for you? Like, do you, is special live? You know what I mean? Like, because I like the idea of like, the smell, the sights, the sounds of live music,
Yeah. No,
like,
I know. I miss it.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing like that. Like having been in some, like, I just thought during the grunge era too, like being at the Central even, or places where I'm like, you can't replace the specialness of a worn out shoe. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the energy alone.
Years.
Yeah. Just being around people.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Right. And what is
energy. There's an energy.
Yeah.
That you were talking, Carrie, earlier about hitting those high notes when you get the adrenaline rush. And that's, and the same with playing guitar, same with playing a song. You get a hyper focus, on what you're doing.
There's a feedback loop. Like when you're playing in front of people, I'm sure the audience feeds you and you feed them. And if you're like playing off of each other and seeing that energy, like you're saying, it's happened. It's powerful. Whereas I think if you're doing it online, like I think I was watching something the other day, and like it was really kind of like actually just a conference, but the fact that nobody could applaud at the end, I kind of felt bad for the presenter, because I was like, oh, they're done, and that was awesome, and everybody's like, wow, that was awesome in the chat, but I'm like, that's not the same.
Right.
It's not the same, and you can feel it as the artist. Like even all the wonderful like shows that are happening on Vashon, right? But like you go play by yourself and it's simulcast, right, or live stream. And I was like, but Danny, you've done it. Like you've done the live stream show that Deborah Heesh has helped put on, which is fantastic. But weren't you even saying like it was a wonderful experience, but it's just you alone in a room. So you're
right.
waiting. There's something that's good for the artist when you get that feedback, that exchange, like the response back, the bodies, it's
That's
such a
one of the
particular
joys
experience
about playing music. I mean, there's certainly a lot of other art forms, but you get that immediate response, I think is just so great from the live shows.
Yeah. It's an exchange. You're having a powerful human exchange. Yeah. Right there. Good, bad, and ugly. I love that.
Maybe I should just put lips on my mask. Would that make it better?
No, that'd be weird. You're going weird.
Maybe some wax
don't try to make something awkward better. You just can't. You know what I mean? You just gotta let it be what it is. But so I wanna move sort of towards like your evolution as a musician, because I was thinking.
Well, you know what, Carrie?
What?
You were a big part of that.
Was I?
Yeah.
Damn straight. Just kidding. But I think you might not realize it, but I remember, in goodness, like you're pretty shy. You were shy, like you were a consummate guitar player, right? And crafter of music and all that. But like getting on stage, I mean, it would be a big deal if you wore like white pants or got like the putting an effort into, I mean, you'd already done it in shadow.
I like those pants.
Those were killer pants. And when you would bleach your hair blonde, but that was like, there was some humility to that, like, oh, that's not, whatever, a shyness to that. And I think you didn't seem to love the like, like you're not a ham. You know what I mean? No. You're not like, I need more attention. In fact, it seemed slightly difficult. I mean, you liked it when you did it. You looked great, but it was sort of an effort and it didn't seem quite comfortable to now you're doing one I was saying to Ryan, I'm always super deep respect for anyone who goes from like, I play an instrument to now I sing and play an instrument, like who will take singing on. And you really have. And what I was saying to Ryan was like, I also think that you're very thoughtful about it in respect to singing and all that it could be. Like that's a mindset. Like that's how I think about singing. Like I'm a singer, like you're a guitar player. I think about it. I'm not fakey, but like I'm interested in what I can do vocally or how I'm portraying a song or the message and how do you deliver that vocally. And so just to watch you go from like seeming like shy, I don't really want to look at anybody, whatever, to like you're now writing incredibly like vulnerable songs, and especially on the latest stuff, right? Like very stripped down. So what is that? Do you see that? Do you see that evolution of yourself?
I do. It was, it was more self-conscious right when I started it. Yeah.
Sure.
I think, when I was younger, it was, I worked really hard to be proficient playing guitar and writing, but the stuff I've loved my entire life has not been the most complicated music. And so I guess by saying that, it means I appreciated the art in it, sort of the focus, like you don't have to be, a virtuoso to write the kind of song that people are going to sing when you're not around. You know what I mean? That was kind of channeling that vibe. So starting singing, that was terrifying. I mean, I was saying backups with goodness, but coming out and doing my own songs, I had to figure out a different way to write.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
That was comfortable for me. So that meant figuring out what I had to say and then, sort of the sonics of the whole thing. But I was telling you a few weeks ago about that. I think there was one show that I booked early on with the band, and it was like this super heavy metal band, and I was like, it was
That's
when
right.
I started singing, and it was like I get out there, it was me. It was a 3-piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just me and bass and drums and just the front. It looks like a bunch of bikers up front. and it's just me and a microphone.
That's right.
Okay, I got to do this. And it went great. I did a bunch of extra guitar solos and they loved that. And then I got off the stage, but it was, it was tough. It was definitely trial by fire.
Well, when you become the singer, you are the storyteller, you are the talker, like you're talking to them, like everybody enjoys the music. But when you're the one saying the words, you definitely become the focal point.
Yeah.
They're like, what's that guy saying? Like, I mean, goodness, we had some shows where it was just trouble being a female led band when we did some touring. But you are speaking to people. It's you, it's on you.
Yeah.
Oh, you put this band together. It's got your name on it. You wrote songs. What are you trying to say to me?
Right,
I mean, there's no hiding. So for you to go from like, remember, because like at the beginning to goodness, like I don't think you'd even turn around.
No, I wasn't that bad.
You were smoking at the time, like you,
oh my God.
right?
That was my veil. Yeah.
Yes. But it wasn't like you were like, hey, everybody, can't wait to talk to you. You were, no.
Yeah.
And now you're like at the front where someone's like, all right, guy. It's got your name on it. You've written some songs. What are you trying to say? Like that's full focus on you.
Right. And it's been great. It's been one of the, I feel like I'm like, if you looked up late bloomer in the dictionary, if there was a dictionary, if you Googled late bloomer, then you would see a picture of me. I mean, you see me, because it's like one sort of set of skills after another in this crazy kind of journey. But, I can remember being a kid and hearing like the Beatles for the first time, and it just changed my world. It just made me so happy.
Did it?
Yeah, just so glad to be alive. And for me, a lot of playing music is getting back to that, kid joy spot. And so it still does that even now. And singing takes me even deeper into that. So I love singing. Absolutely.
Well, you have full control and deep power over your storytelling.
Right. It does
so
that.
we get all of Danny, you know what I mean? So if you're here to share something, that's a much deeper part of you. But that's what I think is amazing about being a singer-songwriter, is that you have a craft to share stories and make people feel better, things like that. And in your solo stuff too, it has evolved as well. I was going back and listening through your records, and now you have a fourth one coming out.
Right.
And this is the one that's stripped down.
Yeah. So this one, Mackerel Sky is the title, is I released a record, Steal the World, last year with the band, the Sugar Makers, which is more of the, kind of the rock and roll format that I've been used to for most of my life.
And your song American is out there too. I really like that one.
Yeah, that's the angry political one.
I like it. It has a whole different feel to it.
Thanks. Yeah, so that was the last one with the band I released last year, and I wasn't planning on writing another record, but for the next year or two, I tend to be prolific once I get going, but I actually, my wife said I couldn't write a record for another year. She was like, you can't write a record for another year. You've been writing too much. I was like, okay, whatever. But
haven't you released a record like every year for the last
every year and a half? Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
That's impressive.
But it feels great. Yeah. And I'm always like, well, this one's a little bit better in this way. And I really like it. So there's always a newness to me that I love. I love the new. I love writing.
That's a good feeling.
So I started writing, and just I get up every morning and I write. So that's kind of my process. But I wasn't planning on writing a new record, but I got some news about a family member for me that was pretty intense. It was a diagnosis of a, incurable illness. And so I started woodshedding, and I was like, I just want to do something that's more open and more in the first person. And so I borrowed a 12-string acoustic, which I don't normally, I always write on a 6-string acoustic. I have this 1960s Gibson acoustic that I found in a pawn shop like back in '97. I think I was on a camping trip up in Vancouver.
Wow.
And it's just beat to heck. Yeah, no, I got a great price on it. But so I'll get up and I'll write a little bit on that. But I'd never written on a 12-string, and it's harder to play, and it's just a bigger sound. But it's almost like it's orchestral. Like you don't need a lot with it to be able to sing and feel like it's something full is backing you up.
Yeah.
So kind of with that news about the family illness, I started just kind of started working on this different instrument, and then the record started to shape up. But it was kind of a shock.
Well, you and I have talked about just the evolution over your solo work too, going from, I mean, you start with what you know, right? Like you can write songs and have a band. And then you kind of learn from there and evolve in terms of what you want to do different, or, and as it should be, I feel like, because now it really is you as the artist saying, here's how I want to do things, or I want to try this, or or here's how I want to run things. And I think those are all fair choices. I think you kind of have to make those. But that takes a concerted effort, and acknowledgement and decision making to go from like, well, I know how to do this. I could have a band, and a band tends to want to make all the decisions together, right? So it becomes a little less like your thing, kind of naturally will, but it takes a lot. And this is a compliment, like to say no to that, not because everyone isn't a wonderful player and all of that, but that you want to narrow the creative effort down to just, you want to own it more, right?
Right. And I think, there's a lot of reasons why. One of them is that I wanted to move further out of my safety net in terms of playing guitar. Like I can always fall back and, play something nice on the guitar that I like to play, like whether as a lead or something like that. But I wanted to say, okay, so I have these new superpowers. I want to put myself in a situation of danger where I have to use them to stay alive. No, I'm kidding. But
kind of, right?
But it was more of like, once again, for me, it's like that newness and wanting to create something that I haven't done before, and taking that leap of faith is an integral part of that for me. I've never wanted to be stuck in a place where I'm just kind of resting on something I've done in the past. It makes me itchy,
Yeah.
Makes me restless.
Well, it makes it really clear that you're a thoughtful artist. You're not just like, I can churn out similar things. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that either. Someone's putting out the music that they want to put out.
I love AC/DC.
Oh my God, who doesn't? I actually just like the other week was on Spotify going way into AC/DC, especially the Bon Scott years. I like the Bon Scott years.
And to me, that's when you start seeing like someone set the parameters on a certain kind of art they wanted to make, and then honed it. It's like the Ramones or Velvet Underground or something like that, where they just I want to take this really simple focus and I want to make it super beautiful and in this really particular way. This total vision. It's amazing.
Well, I think when you're a solo artist, you're not, I know you and I are similar too. Like you have a curiosity.
Yeah.
You're not done. And so, and when you start doing solo stuff and starting to sing and all that, you're like at the beginning of like, you're at the beginning of a whole nother long journey that could have investigation in it forever. If you want to be a conscious artist, evolving, interested in different things, like that's forever.
That's forever. Right.
That seems like a tough call to make. It's like to know, like, do you want to keep honing in on that same sound, or do you want to branch out and make something totally different? And like, how do you decide?
Right. Well, then if you love music too, there's like so many kinds of candy, you're like, I get one. I mean, I like guitar rock. I also like electronic stuff. I like soul. I like new wave stuff. I'm like, it could be very confusing if you were focused on like, what does my fan base think or whatever. But as an artist, that's not, if you do it for the wrong reasons, that can feel very stuck, and that feeling is not good.
Well, that's exactly right. And I think there's another component to this conversation too, is after you get more experience. I was talking with John about this because he sent me some mixes for the new record a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. And John is like the most laid back engineer producer. Like he will not give you a lot of input, unless sometimes he'll make little adjustments here and there. He'll be like, well, you could leave a little bit of that out, but like one suggestion maybe per record,
Right.
And I realized, when we went back through the mixing process, and he has this amazing ability to create sort of a narrative sound and feel that overarches for a whole record, which I think is amazing. And I was talking to him about that, and I realized all of a sudden, I said, it's not the decisions, it's all the little things you didn't do, all the edits you didn't do, to tighten things up in a certain way that kind of give it this natural, organic feel. So it's the choices you make not pursuing something are equally as valid as the direction you're moving towards. It's like that. Yeah. It's your taste. It's that editing process that you sort of, unconsciously go through.
Well, I think he's honed his intuitive ability too, right? Like, you're not going to beat this horse to death. You can manipulate it a lot, but don't do that. Like, I feel like he has a good intuitive pattern of like,
the man has good taste.
Yes. Yeah. And well, how some people like mess with something and never, sorry. Uh-oh.
You there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, that was really weird. Anywho, there I am. It's the headset. Anywho, what was I going to say?
About John?
I think he's not someone who's going to take something and like work on it. Some people just never finish things and they could forever be working on something because there's 18 million ways you could do something. I think he's got incredible intuition around like, and done. You know what I mean? Like, or, oh, that's tasty. And,
Right.
Good.
That's art.
Yeah.
Right there. That's what that is,
And for folks, just for folks listening to, John Goodmanson has been working on goodness stuff and your stuff and Slater Kenny and so many things with Steve Fisk, who was also on the podcast and who's done my last 2 solo records and is a part of Pitch It. He comes from a legacy of producers that is really powerful as well. Like, he as a producer artist is, he's just excellent at what he does. He's an artist unto himself is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And he actually, the first Goodness record, Fisk was talking about doing it originally, and John was engineering with him. John was an understudy to Steve Fisk when that session started. And I think and then John ended up making that record with us.
Yeah. Well, you could see the legacy. That's as we talk, like just going even back from Shadow, like it's so amazing. The Northwest music legacy. Obviously it goes farther back than that, but like, these are people we've known since we were like 24, and all this evolution of everybody as, in the art that they do and the partnering we have all done and continue to do is pretty cool.
Yeah. And most of our listeners know that Mike McCready grew up with me in Shadow.
Right.
But he's also been really great in terms of running his record label and putting local music out. And Pearl Jam, of course, is, Pearl Jam.
Well, I've always thought Mike really craved creativity. Like, he's a seeker.
He is a seeker. That's exactly right. And he's also, as a player, one of the most focused and in the moment players like I know.
Oh, like, God.
He's fluid.
Yeah.
He's just fluid, and that's where I would like to be with singing. Like, when I'm writing a singing part, that's that space, creating that space where you just, you're open to it,
Yeah. He's very comfortable in the free fall, I feel like, or the intuition. Right. Like, that's a practiced, it probably doesn't feel like a practicing, but that's a practice thing to just be like, I'm good. I feel safe. I'm willing to, I'm very comfortable in the jumping off of the cliff. Like, I don't, I got this.
He's amazing.
Yeah. And I felt lucky enough too to get to play in the Rockfords with you and Mike and Chris
John did
and Rick.
Project too.
Yep. And John. Yeah. So it's just been, these are, I feel like, when I say those things out loud, I start to look going, oh, look at all the people you've gotten to write with, play music with, record with, and it's healthy. It's awesome. Yeah. Lots of talent. And that is sheer pleasure. It's a pleasure I don't really want to give up. I won't.
Why would you want to? Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I've had, Danny knows I have my burnout moments where I'm like, why even, I have my burnout moments. And it's those things, like recognizing what like a delicious plate of creativity everybody is, that makes me go, oh, that's pretty amazing. Yeah. Okay. I'll keep that. That's nice. And it's one of those things that like I can partake in. It's not at the whim of it's something I can control, right? And I'm grateful that it's something I can partake in, partner with people, write music. And I'm grateful for all of those relationships that allow me to, play with other musicians and write songs and record. And these are all things that I love that aren't at the whim of lack of control or whatever. These are things I can always have, and that's reassuring to me.
Right. I've been thinking a little bit about music lately in terms of how underrated it is as a necessary part of life. I think we sort of all take it for granted because it's just like water. You're just like, oh yeah, it's water.
Yeah.
But it's deeply, especially as crazy as things have been this spring. For me, like writing and being able to play and create music has been, deeply sustaining. I mean, it has all my life, but especially now it has, to me, a deeper sort of.
Well, I think as we get older, we have appreciation. Like we've done enough things, and at a certain age, events like you've said, like hard things happen that force you into appreciation as well.
Right.
And so that's a great place to get to and be, because you get to feel the value of something as opposed to like blowing through life and then feeling untethered and not happy. Or if you can get to the point where you have that kind of appreciation, it just is grounding, I think.
Right.
And reassuring. I think it's, recently, in the last couple of years, like I've done shared or taught workshops too around writing.
Yeah.
And I think, as you talk about music today, I'm like, that's one of the things that I like to give back. It'd be fun to actually do with you as well, is just pass that on to people, the appreciation of songwriting, storyteller, expressing yourself, uniquely expressing yourself, and having a respect for however you want to say or do things, like giving that jewel back to people or to them at all is a game changer in a world that prizes well-paying jobs and buying a lot of things and, midlife crisis where everyone's like, why am I not happy? And I'm like, well, what did you put your value into, kind of thing. Anyways,
what did you seek? What were you seeking?
Yeah.
Looking for? And I think this is really something that I'm feeling, and I don't want to get into politics too much here, but I think modern America, there's just what do we aspire to be? What are we taught to seek out? What is our cultural priority in terms of how we live? And I guess in some ways I've always felt like music is sort of selfish because it is an ego-driven, that need for expression is ego-driven, but it's also, you're tapping into great humanity too. So it's a long tradition of being a part of something that's bigger than you, as opposed to, just focusing on commerce or, having nice things in your house or,
I even think it's a imperative thing that people should be able to tap into, self-expression. Right. I think it's missing, it could happen in any way that suits the person doing it, but it's missing in terms of being valued.
I think so too.
On a broad spectrum, right? Like that. I'm reading this book, and I probably said in the last Seth Godin's book, The Icarus Deception, and it's the book I need to be reading right now. But it kind of, I think it speaks to this because he talks about the value of living and functioning as an artistic person or art's contribution to the world, like just the thought state of mind you have to be in order to make art, produce art. And this could be anything, right? But it's a different state of mind than, I'm going to put my value in my career path, which is based upon like industrial worker pathways, and leads you to be more of a cog than a personally self-expressed person who understands themselves and things like that. Anyways, you just talk about the importance of returning to art. And again, not being a painter necessarily. He's just saying like that's a different state of mind when you're functioning with the value of art artistically, things like that.
Well, and I think you can have that mindset in terms of your relationships with other people, being creative with other people. You can have it in terms of solving an engineering problem. You could have it being a surgeon. There's all these different applications for it. It's not just music. Of course, music, I think the more people learn about music is that, it may have been there before language. It may have been singing may have been a precursor to actual language, and which is very, the thing that separates us from the monks. So there you go. But
and it's very healing too. Yeah.
But I think art, as long as you are considering your humanity, that therefore may become an artistic endeavor, doing the work you do.
I do creative coaching and life coaching, and I recently have done a couple workshops where there's a group of like 5 women. We get together and we started off basically the idea I had was like, I want to bring them as individuals to the center in their own minds, and from there kind of re-examine whatever it might be that isn't work. They can sense like what's not working for them or what's the issue, or just talk about their lives. And it's been really amazing and fun to see what's coming out of it.
Yeah.
Because there is just this lack of self-value.
Right.
Like you get so caught up in the path that you're told you're supposed to have that you yourself are lost on a daily basis, right? Or if you're a woman, there's lots of other, traps you could fall into about like caretaking, and, you should, spending your time taking care of everyone else and making everything work. And again, once again, you're lost. It's just been really interesting to bring the individual or the person forward and recognize, like state out loud, like you are of value.
Right.
You are of value.
The mere fact of, as much trouble as I get in from making a record every year and a half, it also validates my existence, and it's part of my story. For me, that releasing of records, that writing of songs is, sort of me, putting a flag up on my moon,
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing.
What are you going to do? So given the current COVID state, what are your thoughts on what you creatively have thought? What will you do about playing live, and will it affect the kinds of music that you're making? And is it making you automatically shift towards something you might not have thought of, and now you're like, oh, that actually gets me closer to intimacy, or in terms of an audience, or
right? And I'm to be honest, I'm struggling with that right now because I'm trying to release this record, and all of my all my records have paid for themselves. I've been very fortunate that way, but a lot of that's been done through playing live shows and sales at live shows. So I don't have any of that. I had to cancel, I don't know, a significant amount of shows this spring that I was gearing up for to release this record. So I'm having to reevaluate that and push things back. So this record is coming out in September 19th.
Okay.
And give me some time to promote it a little bit. But, it's also, the music business died and then has been reborn sort of as a cottage industry for the most part. And yet you can't promote it as a cottage industry right now because we're going through such great, civil change. I don't feel like you don't want to get on and promote yourself. I feel like it's time to kind of, be involved in that and put your effort behind that.
Right.
So there's all these, the normal routes of releasing music right now is complicated. So I'm definitely just going to take my time and, get a couple reviews for the record and be maybe a little bit more of a slower release and not trying to hype it up. It also, one thing I do feel good about, I think this record, because of its space, sort of mirrors, the distance that we've all been kind of feeling by being in lockdown and quarantined, and just the sort of general, anxiety about not knowing what comes next with the pandemic and the politics and all that stuff. So, so I do think that the record will be well received. So that's good. But
I have no doubt. Yeah.
As for the fall, I'm just waiting to see. I might try and play a couple of outdoors, shows.
Well, that's what I was wondering too, like outdoor shows or very small house shows, again, intimate, might be an amazing style of playing for intimate music and storytelling, and out of all of this, like, self-expression on a really authentic level will be a good thing.
I love that idea of that. I think I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think what's happening is necessary. You know what I mean? Like, it's necessary. And it's one of those things that forces realness. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Right. Have either of you guys looked at any of those VR performance spaces, like Alt Space? I know, like, Reggie Watts has been doing that.
No, but I will go right out and see that. Reggie Watts is amazing.
Yeah. He fits very well in the VR space.
Doesn't he? Of course he does. He's brilliant. I love him. Yeah. That's interesting.
What's another space besides the VR space? What is that?
Well, there's like different services. Like, the way it works is, as an audience member, you can see like the avatars of the other people, and you can hear the other people as the audience. I don't know. I've never used it as an artist, so I don't know what that's
reality
like.
You're talking about.
Yeah, like full on. You put your goggles on, and you're in this, and you see a performer performing on their stage, like, either virtual stage or they're recorded, and you can do it in 3D, so you can see them better. But you don't have to.
That's trippy.
Right.
Okay. We broke down. Well, we saved for it. Got my son a VR headset.
Yeah.
An Oculus VR headset, and it's amazing. It's so trippy. You can, when you put it on, you could be on top of a mountain. Yet you're sitting in your living room. So, and there's games and all that, you could even exercise stuff. But you could also literally pick your living room, put on Netflix, and be sitting in the virtual living room watching the movie, not your own living room.
But an even better living room than your own living room.
It is so weird. I was like, this is amazing and so dangerous to me right now. Like, I don't need to go get Airbnb. I got it right here. Like, I'm at this cabin on a mountain watching Netflix. Sweet.
Yeah, the theater experience is so much better than an actual theater experience, except for the popcorn, So you're like, I feel bad for movie theaters.
Right. Well, in music venues and all kinds of stuff, we shall see, won't we?
We shall see.
Danny, we thank you so much for talking with me today. I just love you so much. You know that. And I think I know you and I could write a record in 2 days. I have no problem. Maybe we should do that.
3 days might be better.
3 days? Okay, fine. Still good.
I am. I love you too, and I'm totally down to do that. So we should.
Yes, we shall. We will put links to all of your stuff, and folks, go out and listen, go buy, support artists. We are very blessed, I feel like, to live in a strong music community. I feel very proud to be a part of it. And Danny, you're evidence of my good life. So I appreciate you.
Well, ditto back to you. And I really enjoyed talking about this stuff. It was good.
It was fun, right? We went deep. Whoa, we got deep.
Whoa. Well, I was talking about putting a flag on my moon. I don't even know what that means.
I got a visual.
Oh, no. Yeah, it looks like the MTV logo, doesn't it?
A little bit. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, hope you guys have a great week. Hope you enjoy listening, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Ryan here. Normally, this is where we would play the outro music for the podcast, but Danny was gracious enough to give us 2 of his songs to play on the show, and he even recorded a little introduction to describe each one for them, and we've put it here for you to enjoy. Thanks, Danny.
So Chase the Dark is it's been the first single off my new upcoming record, and actually I'll have a video out for that in a couple of weeks. But it's sort of about a chance meeting with somebody who has a really different perspective than you, but also in a bigger picture of reevaluating how you see just being alive and the choices you make and what directions things may run into. It's also a little bit more of an upbeat song and moves a little bit faster. I like the pace, and check it out.
Like a vagabond for a rainy day. All I said was,
The song "Golden" is sort of more, it falls more into the classic style of songwriting that I do love, and it's kind of one of those idea songs where you're focusing on the idea and letting the language kind of fall where it may within certain verses. But I love the piano playing on this one. I felt like it really moved in and kind of took over from the guitar and drove the whole song in a more melodic way. So, I love the pop. Anyways, here it is. Here's Golden.
She said the light was golden. She stepped into the street. Didn't know how long I've been holding it in. I couldn't get my relief. Well, some moments make their own light at the edge of